It is time for Around the 412 with Smitty and Tyler.
Welcome back to another episode of Around the 412. I am Tyler. With me, as always, is my co-host Smitty. Go follow us on all of our social medias at Around the 412. Also, go check us out on YouTube if you're not watching over there already. Leave a like on the videos, hit subscribe, and hit that bell so you never miss a video when we're posted. Also, go check out the description of the show either on YouTube or over on the listening platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcast, or wherever you're listening to your podcast. We got year 7 of Rock Around the 412. It's our Christmas fundraiser. You hear me talking about it every single week. We're going to continue to talk about it every single week from now until mid-December because we have our Christmas fundraiser that we, over the past 6 years, helped over, I don't know what the exact number was. I think we actually calculated it, 96, I believe, children in the level 412 area codes, as well as raised over $32,000 to be able to provide those children Christmas. We've also partnered with the East Rochester Salvation Army the last few years in the name of our late friend Dalton Keene. And so we have partnered with them to adopt kids off of their angel tree. If you're interested in that, you can either adopt kids off of the angel tree directly, you can do it at Keeks Barbershop itself, or you can do it between one of us if you want to give us the money and we can get the tag adopted for you as well. We can do it that way. But the hard cutoff for the gifts to be at the Salvation Army for them is December 9th. So if you're interested in that portion of it, December 9th is a hard cutoff. Ours for just the normal portion of a Rock Around the 412 that we get through the GoFundMe, that's going to be probably a few days later after that, like the second week of December or so, the end of the second week. So if you're interested in that, top of the description, year 7, Rocking Around the 412. Do you have the numbers?
It's actually 111 kids in total. I wonder if 96 would have had to have been at some point last year. Yeah. It was probably an update that I did last year. It was at 96. And then by the end of doing everything. So unless you were like, I don't know, maybe I was including the tags instead of the kids. I don't know. But either way, last year specifically, right, we raised $6,685, 3 individual families along with 26 tags. Within those 3 families, there were 10 kids, so 36 kids in total had a Christmas, thanks to you guys, just to give you an idea. The most we ever did, going back to 2021, this was a crazy year, I remember, because I couldn't even rotate my chair in my basement with how much stuff was down here. $11,178, 13 different families. There was only, I say only, there was 30 kids that year. So not 36 like this past year. There was 30 kids, but they were all within individual families because that was the last year before we partnered up with the Salvation Army. So partnering up with the Salvation Army has been a great addition to doing this thing. We love doing it. December 9th, hard cutoff date. If you want to be involved with the Salvation Army stuff this year, that's when everything needs to be returned to the East Rochester Salvation Army. So if you're taking the tag, make sure you get that shopping done and have things returned to me or over there by December 9th, because I'll have to get it over there that same day if you get it to me December 9th. So I'll hate you for it, but I'll still be okay knowing that you got that done for that kid. Or if you want to make a monetary donation, December 2nd. So I have a week to do to take that tag and be able to get that done within that time frame. So yeah, 111 kids going back to 2018, the first year of doing Rockin' Around the 412.
That's awesome.
It is. You know what else is awesome? Hockey's back. We're on the same page. Great, because this is Around the 412 Penguins show, and I'm sure that's what you're tuning in for. I know the people watching or listening don't mind hearing about the Christmas mission, hopefully. But we're here to talk about Pittsburgh Penguins hockey. Yeah, you're a terrible person. So
you're an awful person if you don't want to help Christmas time. Go click on the description.
The voice of the Pittsburgh Penguins also bringing us into the show. Shout out to Josh Getzoff, just because. Also off to an incredible start. He's been great. Got the fresh fade as well. I don't know if enough people were talking about it on the internet the other day, so I had to point it out. But let's talk about the Penguins first. 4 games to talk about on here today. And you mentioned to me already, you think by the time we record next week, there'll be another 4. So pretty large sample sizes to talk about here. And, wouldn't you know it, I feel like we're just right back in that same boat because they're 2-2. Which is exactly what I probably would have predicted they would be last week when talking about this team. But some things may be of note to talk about. First and foremost, if you're talking about the 2024 Pittsburgh Penguins and the start that they are off to, how is the first thing that you talked about not Evgeni Malkin and the start that he's gotten off to? 7 points in 4 games. He's been awesome. What do you have to say about Geno?
I think he's been great. I think that he has been driving a lot of the offense for this team already. And that's shutting up a lot of the haters that Geno has had, because over the past, not just last season, but several seasons, a lot of people have considered whether Geno should even be on this team, or if he is on this team, how productive is he still going to be at his age and everything like that. Still producing as one of the leading scorers on this team, leading forwards on this team when it comes to driving that offensive play. I think he's been fantastic. I think that he has also drawn players towards himself, which have opened things up for his line mates as well. And I don't think it could be stated enough how much of an impact Geno has had in these first 4 games and how much of an impact he's going to continue to have this season. And the Penguins need him to continue to have, because, I mean, we've talked about it a lot, how the team is kind of set up in a way where, at least right now, looking on the surface, you're expecting a lot from your aging core. Geno is a big part of that, and going into this season, we needed to still have another great Geno season like we've had in the past. He's been incredible so far this season. He's tied, at least as of recording this, tied for the lead in points in the NHL. So that is probably going to expect it to change as of recording this, but still, he's been awesome to start this season. And
he's just checking boxes milestone wise too. He could check another 100%. One by the time we talk. Probably will check another one by the time we talk next week, but I'll be in the barn. Well, at the time of recording this, it's already happened, but I'll be there on Wednesday, the 16th, Penguins Sabres. So Sid's looking to check a box. Geno's looking to check a box. I thought the power plays looked okay so far. Like, I know that they're 17th or whatever. I think they only have 2, maybe 3 goals on the power play.
Better than 30th.
The process has been there, I feel like, so far. And I know it's only 4 games, but it's looked better to me.
Yeah, I think it's looked better. I think that they're moving the puck more with a purpose, is what I would say. It doesn't look like they're just playing catch out there with the like looking for the perfect lane to shoot from. I think that their movement is more purpose driven. And I think that with David Quinn, you finally are seeing a different power play than what we got with Todd Reirden. And I'm not saying it's all Quinn, but I'm sure he has some influence on that. And the power play, we mentioned it before, how much a difference it would make if they could pot in some of these power play goals in some of these one-score games that you're going to have throughout this season. Being league average, which is pretty much about what 17 in the league would be, 32 teams. If they could be that for the entirety of the season, obviously you want more, but I would take league average compared to what we have been. Like I mentioned last year, they were 30th in the NHL, which was freaking awful for how bad of a power play you have with the personnel that you have. I've been impressed with what I've seen from the power play so far, just because of the different movements, not necessarily just the scoring goals portion of it. I just am more impressed with what I'm seeing from a actual scheme standpoint of the power play. And I think that also Geno's been a bit of part of that. And I just think that they're moving the puck a lot better on it. They're not, there were so many times last year where Malkin and Carlson or Malkin and Letang or whoever it end up being would just be throwing it back and forth. And they're just looking for that perfect pass. Nobody's moving their feet. But I don't see that this year. I think that people are rotating, and it's leading to a lot more opportunities on the power play. Even if they haven't capitalized on all of them already, I just think it's a totally different than what we saw last season.
I mean, you factor in what the power play has looked like this year, just say the percentage keeps up. The 17th ranked power play, last year's Penguins with the 17th ranked power play, they're in the playoffs. They are in the playoffs. So how much of a game changer would it be if they finish league average this year? What's going on, everybody? Smitty from Around the 412, and I just want to take a quick second to give a shout out to our folks at Game Changers. Their logo on the screen right now, right above my microphone. Over 2,000 different designs in their catalog. Luxury heavyweight material. I am wearing one of their shirts right now. Best vintage t-shirts in the game. Head over to gamechanger.la or pick6.la to pick up some shirts. And guess what? Use code AT412. Save yourself $10 on your order every single time. Again, gamechanger.la or pick6.la. Best vintage t-shirts in the game. Check them out. That wasn't my best. And by the way, I feel bad. I feel like I kind of screamed into the mic there, so I apologize to anybody that watches or listens with headphones in. But this isn't a warning because it's afterwards, but I apologize for it happening. Another thing that I feel like you cannot talk about the beginning of the season without talking about is the goaltending. Tristan Jarry's played 2 of their first 4 games. Joel Blomqvist has played 2 of their first 4 games. I don't know that we would have predicted this, because I know that we certainly had our reservations about Tristan Jarry, our doubts about what he was going to look like. Would he be able to bounce back? Not good in that first game, and then concedes the net for 2 in a row. And it's not even Alex Nedeljkovic that gets those starts because he's hurt right now. So I don't know. I mean, to me, this is more about Jarry than it is Joel. Like, I think that it shows more of a lack of faith in Tristan Jarry than anything else. But I'll be honest, if you were around all offseason, if you were around last year when they didn't give the net to Jarry, even a meaningless game 82, I foresaw this coming. This is kind of what not this early in the season, but I certainly saw that we were going to end up going down this path sooner rather than later, regardless.
Yeah, he did not have a good opening night against the Rangers, but to be fair, nobody on the team did. But I think that he had an awful night. There were some goals that there should have been saves made. I don't
think he instills a lot of confidence in his teammates either. And I'm not trying to place blame that shouldn't be placed on him, because certainly it's not on him the way that other guys perform. But I also just think the guys play so tight because there's a lack of faith there.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with that. I think that looking at the way he performed in that game, it just looks like he's never set, and his positioning is off. Looks kind of like he's just in the wrong position most of the time when it comes to.
And speaking of that first goal that he gave up against the Habs in their most recent game, on earth, he wasn't even on the right side of the net.
No,
I don't know
he
what
wasn't.
he was. The reaction time was awful.
It was so slow. I don't know if he thought that they were shooting it from the other side of the point. And either way, that was awful. But going back to that first game, terrible game. It's expected that Blomqvist was going to play in the game 2 because they had a back-to-back. But then the news on Saturday morning, whenever it was said that Joel Blomqvist was going to be starting on Saturday in Toronto, that was like earth-shattering news for Pittsburgh when it comes to how Mike Sullivan operates as a head coach, how he operates as a coach towards his players. I just don't think that any of us were really expecting that. That, especially like you mentioned, that early in the season, to see Joel Blomqvist be getting that type of start, that was shocking to me. And to your credit, like you mentioned it, if anybody who watched the end of last season should know that Sullivan is not afraid to sit Jarry. I just think the shocking part is that it was coming in game 3 where they're going to the other guy. They're going to the rookie that had just made his NHL debut a couple days before. I think that it was very surprising to me that they made that decision. But at the end of the day, I agreed with it. I thought it was the right decision, especially after the first 2 games. I thought that Joel Blomqvist had a pretty solid start in his debut, so why not go to him in game 3, considering what you got from Jarry in game 1? But the thing with Jarry is it's not just game 1. It's his entire envelope of his career that you're looking at and what he is looking for. I just don't think that there's a lot of trust there right now. You mentioned with the players, but there's not a lot of trust with Mike Sullivan. There's not a lot of trust with the franchise. I just don't think that the Penguins are in a good situation when it comes to Tristan Jarry, especially because of the contract that he's on. Mm-hmm. If Joel Blomqvist is going to be starting majority of these games, that would be an interesting decision to be made, because I know they went back to Jarry against Montreal, but I'm curious to see coming up what they're going to be doing. Like, is it going to be split 50-50 with some of these games? Are they going to have Jarry continue to play more? Because even in that Montreal game, for a lot of that game, he did not look good.
The first and third goals were bad. I thought he was good.
In the third period. He was pretty good. He closed out the game strong, but there was a lot of goals in that game that you look at and be like, what are we doing? Why is this even happening? Tristan Jarry is just so polarizing of a player right now when it comes to the Pittsburgh Penguins.
And again, I feel like we can't emphasize this enough is how different would the conversation be if it was Alex Nedeljkovic? Like for Sullivan to put this type of trust in Yoel, which normally he doesn't. I feel like we've also emphasized that quite a bit too. Like this is very uncharacteristic of them to turn to a rookie goaltender who we haven't seen like this in that situation. I thought Yoel was awesome against the Red Wings. 2 of those goals he couldn't really do anything with, and one of those was a 5-on-3 slam dunk by DeBrincat, who had 2 goals in that game. And then the other game against Toronto, Penguins were very good in the first period, and when they were controlling play and kind of defending well in front of him, I thought he was fine. I feel like that game just broke down. Like the Penguins were good for 20 minutes of that game, and then Toronto pushed back, and they didn't have an answer after that. One of those goals, blows Mitch Marner blows right by Marcus Pettersson. Obviously, he's never going to match him for speed, but his gap control just wasn't there on that one, which, by the way, I don't think he's off to that great of a start, but that's another topic. But yeah, I think that this conversation becomes even more interesting as Alex Nedeljkovic works his way back, because then what do they do? Like, is there a world where we're already seeing that much less of Tristan Jarry? Do they go with 3? Do we see 3 goaltenders? Like, what are they going to do? It's going to be interesting to see. To me, I would say I would rather just have, Blomqvist playing games at the AHL if that's the route that they're going to go. I don't think it makes sense for him to be part of some 3-man rotation where he's not playing, really. So that's probably the route that I would go, as long as you have both Nedeljkovic and Jarry on the roster. I mean, this is so, like you said, the word polarizing. I think that's a good word to describe it, just because I have no idea. It's very intriguing. No idea how it's going to play out. It just seems like the Jarry thing's just a sinking ship. Like, yeah, he's going to give you a good period here or there. There's no confidence instilled when he's in the net right now.
Yeah, and that's why I'm curious to see how they're going to handle the games moving forward. Because coming up, you have games against Buffalo on Wednesday night, which is probably going to be. This is going to be coming out probably after that game has happened. So that game would have happened.
Yeah.
You have Carolina, and then you start.
Well, hold on. Let's see if we're right. People can go back and watch this in real time. Who's going to start that game against Buffalo?
I think it's going to be Tristan Jarry. I think it's going to be Tristan Jarry.
One of us will be right. I'll take Yoel.
Okay. I think it's going to be Tristan Jarry, mainly because they won in Montreal. If they would have lost in Montreal, I think they go to Yoel.
Okay.
But the fact that the team won, I think they're going to go to him. Because I think Sullivan wants to give him opportunities, especially when you have the rookie goaltender behind him. I don't necessarily think that he wants Jarry to fail, but at the same time, he has to play the best goaltender.
I wonder if the way that he played Blomqvist, that is, in that second game, I wonder if he saw that as an opportunity to say, I wonder if this could be a wake-up call to Tristan to play him, Blomqvist, that is, back-to-back. And let's see how Tristan responds.
Yeah. And I mean, to be fair, like we mentioned, a couple shaky goals in that Montreal game, but he closed out the game strong. And that might be playing into the decision with Mike Sullivan as well coming up. But then you got that Western Canada road trip with Winnipeg, Calgary, Edmonton, Vancouver. I don't know how they are going to operate with goaltender. And so that's why I think it's going to be curious to see how they're deciding who's going to be playing in these games, because I think I agree with you where if it's up to 3 goaltenders, I want Yoel in the AHL just to get more experience. He could be the full-time starter and still get, even though he's not at the NHL level, he's still getting those in-game experiences on North American hockey. While with Nedeljkovic and Jarry, that's where I'd want it to be. But say these next few games, say Jarry has a bad game again, then Yoel plays against Carolina on Friday. And then on Sunday, say he gets back-to-back starts again and plays against Winnipeg. Say he starts stacking up wins and he's playing as the better goaltender compared to Tristan Jarry before Nedeljkovic comes back. That's where I think you get into a tougher scenario for what do you do with goaltender, because you got Jarry, who would be playing like more of a backup role at that point. Yoel, who is playing as your starter, and Nedeljkovic, who's just coming off the injury. He hasn't played all season. That's where I think the tough part would be if you're the Penguins, because you don't want to throw away the season by just sending Yoel back to the AHL if that's going to what it's going to cost. I think it's going to be interesting to see how these next few games play out. I know it's so early in the season to be having this type of conversation about how it could affect the rest of the season, but seriously, like, I think that him starting in Toronto, Yoel starting in Toronto, just really shook how we need to view goaltending and how the Penguins are going to decide what they do with their goaltenders.
Right. And it's not necessarily something we didn't see coming, just not this early in the season. Going back to things that we maybe didn't see coming, how about the resurgence of secondary scoring that we've seen here early in the season? And we talked about the bottom six, but even on defense, right? They got 4 goals from the blue line through 4 games. They got 11 points right now from the back end, 3 for Erik Karlsson, 3 for Chris Letang, 3 for Marcus Pettersson, and 2 for Matt Grzelcyk, who had an awesome secondary assist on a great play by Geno setting up Chris Letang for a goal the other night. I just think that they're getting contributions from guys here very early that I'm super encouraged by. Lars Eller has been awesome to start the season, 2-goal game that they certainly needed against one of his old clubs in the Montreal Canadiens. Kevin Hayes has 2 goals. Jesse Puljujarvi has 2 points through 3 games, getting back into the lineup in place of Rutger McGroarty. Not necessarily the guy I'd be scratching, but that's the move that they made. And I think Puljujarvi has shown that he should be in the lineup. It's just a question of what guy shouldn't be. Chari has a point. Cody Glass has a point. Drew O'Connor has a goal. He's been bumped down the lineup a little bit, which I guess is something to talk about as well. So
Rickard Rakell has 2 goals.
Rickard Rakell, yeah, you're right. I should include that too because we're waiting for.
Like, I know he's not necessarily in the secondary scoring if you're talking bottom 6, but that's a guy I feel like it needs to be mentioned. He's got 2 goals
outside of the people that contributed last year. Yeah, certainly. So yeah, he's had a nice little start to the season as well, and I think that the position where he's at on the ice, like finding those soft spots, I think I'm more encouraged. Again, going back to the same way we talked about the power play, more encouraged by the process there more than anything else. Obviously, it's nice to actually have the 2 goals to show for it. Let's stay on the positive for right now. I want to go to maybe some negatives here to talk about as well, but just sticking within the positives, what have you seen from guys outside of that core 4 that we kind of expect to produce here early in the season?
Well, I honestly like what I've seen from the group as a whole, like the forwards as a whole. I thought that there's guys like Jesse Puljujarvi has produced a lot so far in a few games. I know only 2 assists in those games, but I feel like he's had a greater impact than what just the box score is going to say. I thought Cody Glass has looked like a good player. He's been moving the puck pretty well, killing penalties as well. And Rickard Rakell, 2 goals. Like I mentioned, I don't think that could be understated enough or overstated enough that is a big deal to have 2 goals from Rickard Rakell in those 2 games. One of those coming off of a snipe against Montreal. I think that Kevin Hayes, good return so far. That trade, obviously, I think that anybody that looks at that trade knows that the Penguins took him on to attain get some assets and draft picks. But at the same time, if he's going to be a contributor, he's more than what we've gotten in the past in the bottom 6 role.
I wanted to bring this up as well. Sarge texted me about Kevin Hayes, and I don't remember exactly what he said, but we were having a conversation about him, and Sarge didn't have the knowledge of him being really good friends with Johnny Gaudreau. Well, both the Gaudreau brothers, Matthew as well, but also that he lost his brother Jimmy not that long ago. And we were having a conversation about that and just like how easy that he is to root for now. And he said, you know what? I'm going to go out on a limb and say he scores 20 goals this year. And I said, pal, if he scores 20 goals in 2024, I feel like that should be an automatic ticket to the playoffs for the Penguins if they get 20 goals out of Kevin Hayes. But anyway, the whole point of that was just I feel like the addition of Kevin Hayes, because of maybe people feeling like he's completely washed, won a little bit under the radar. But like if people have the full backstory here, what an easy guy to root for. A guy that came over, obviously he had spent time with the Flyers. Maybe people hated him while he was there as a player. But certainly knowing the backstory now, I feel like a lot of people can attach themselves to this guy and are really going to be rooting for him all this season.
Yeah, he's a very likable player. I hope he has a great season. If he has 20 goals this season, that is something that, like you said, Penguins should definitely be in the playoffs as Kevin Hayes is having 20 goals. But
Yeah.
and another guy we highlighted last week when we were talking about our preseason predictions, like Lars Eller having 2 goals through 4 games.
Mm-hmm.
We mentioned how we were kind of like surprised by his goal total, looking at it and remembering that he had 15 goals on the season. If he can replicate that, and 2 goals in 4 games is a great start to that. If he can replicate something similar to that, that's
on pace for 41.
That is great for on pace for 41. Yeah, but that's something that is great for the bottom 6. And I mentioned it several times over the past summer and going into this season. Like, I never thought that Lars Eller was bad last season. I thought that he was one of their better acquisitions. Thought that it was smart to keep him. And I think that is paying dividends right now from what you've been seeing from him.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I want to get your take on a couple players here. Anthony Beauvillier had a couple goals in the team's first win of the season in Detroit, and he's been the guy to stick on that top line. So with Brian Rust coming back, I don't know. I would have thought, preseason when asked this, I would have said probably Drew O'Connor sticks on Sid's line. It's Beauvillier that drops back when Brian Rust gets back in. But Brian Rust returned to the lineup, and Anthony Beauvillier stayed. It was Drew O'Connor that's been taken off of that line, dropped down the lineup. What have you made so far of Beauvillier? And then I got to ask you about your boy, because Michael Bunting, I would say so far, and this isn't necessarily a shot at him as much as it is just like how well with everybody else has played. I'd say Michael Bunting has been one of the more invisible or not noticeable, maybe not invisible is not the right word, but he hasn't shown up on the stat sheet yet. And I feel like even watching the games, he hasn't been super noticeable on the ice.
Yeah. So with Beauvillier, I thought that game in Detroit, really good game for him, obviously getting 2 goals. But I was surprised whenever they kept him over Drew O'Connor on Sid's line. But then maybe at the same time, when it comes to the player value, they consider Beauvillier would have a better player value just sticking with Sid, and Drew O'Connor could be down in the bottom 6. Maybe they think that O'Connor could perform better there. I don't think that Beauvillier has been bad. I think that he's been better than expected.
People forget that you called that signing as well, whether you wanted to or not.
Whether I wanted to or not, I did call that signing. And this is a guy that I thought might not even make the opening night roster going into the season, but now that he's on the top line, like, I don't think he's been bad, but I don't think that he's been amazing either. I'm just gonna I'm kind of in like a wait and see with him more so, because the Sid line of the past couple games hasn't really been doing anything as far as like scoring goes. Sid does not have a goal yet, so kind of wait and see how that develops over the next few games. If they continue to be lackluster, I gotta imagine that Sullivan would move Drew O'Connor back up and then see what they do with Beauvillier. But I think that he's been pretty solid overall. I don't think that he's been bad, but I don't think he's been great either. He's better than what I would have expected. I'll say that. With Bunting,
also on pace for 41 goals.
Yeah, also on pace for 41 goals. With Bunting, I just think that he's had a lot of bad puck luck to start. I think that, like, there's a play in my mind. I don't know when it happened during the game, but there was a play against Montreal where he was fed a pass on what would have been like a wide open cage, but it was in his feet. And so, like, I think part of it is just he's had bad puck luck in the beginning of the season, and he just hasn't been able to finish so far. I think that I still believe Michael Bunting is a good player. I think that he's going to get out of this, but I just think it's more puck luck and bad luck finishing than anything so far this season. I'm not worried about Michael Bunting yet.
Yeah, no, I'm not either. Again, it's just I expected him to come out flying just because of the way that he was last year once he got here and how good he looked with Geno. And then you factor in how good Geno's looked this year, and it's just wild that he really hasn't figured into that yet. So, we'll see. I believe along with you that his time is coming. Last thing I want to touch on is just we've seen some lineup shakeups already. I mentioned Jesse Puljujarvi getting back into the lineup after being taken out of the lineup when Brian Rust came back. It was Rucker McGroarty that's sitting now as a healthy scratch, and then Jack St. Ivany on the back end taking a seat for Ryan Shea. Certainly agree with Puljujarvi getting back in. He looks really good. He looks healthy. He looks like he can certainly be a contributor for that bottom 6, and is probably more talented than anybody currently playing within that bottom 6, just when you look at the pedigree that he brings to the table. And then the other one, Jack St. Ivany, I thought was off to a really bad start on the back end. So I don't have a problem with them mixing in Ryan Shea. I know it was only one game. It was against the Canadians. Could be tough to evaluate. But I didn't think Ryan Shea looked out of place. I'd probably roll with that for as long as you can until the wheels do fall off or it looks catastrophic and you have to make a change there. I'm not saying that Ryan Shea should be like an everyday defenseman. I ultimately believe Jackson Ivany is the better player, but just with the way that he's gotten off to a start this season, I don't have an issue with that switch. Where are you at with this? Are you okay with Rutger McGroarty being a healthy scratch? Or if that's going to be the case, just send him down so he can keep playing.
Yeah, if he's going to be a long-term healthy scratch, I don't want him to be up in the AHL. I'd rather him just, or NHL, I'd rather him just go down to the AHL so he gets that playing experience at the pro level more. I just don't think it helps his game any to just be sitting in a press box all the time. And quite frankly, if they were going to put him back in the lineup and they still wanted Puljujarvi to be in there, a guy like Noel Acciari could come out of the lineup and I wouldn't bat an eye. And especially with the way that the lines are configured right now. Not that like Noel Acciari has been like bad or anything. I just think that that's a guy that could easily come out of the lineup based off how it's currently constructed. So
yeah,
I think
the way we talked about Sullivan earlier, I feel like he wouldn't take it. Like I feel like if you were saying one guy's coming out of this lineup, it's not Puljujarvi, it'd probably be Cody Glass, right? I mean, that's where my mind goes, even over Kevin Hayes, which for me it'd probably be Acciari. But Glass and Hayes is tough. I mean, they've been pretty solid as a fourth line. It's Acciari easily for me, the one that I would pull out of the lineup.
Mm-hmm.
And then Glass and Hayes are probably in that same vein. But I want Rucker to be playing at the NHL level.
Hayes has 2 goals.
Going to. Yeah. No, and I was just talking about he's super easy to root for, and I think he's still a valuable player. So there's definitely a gap there for me. Like Acciari, Glass, and Hayes somewhere.
Yeah,
together.
For sure. I think Rutger McGroarty should be back in the lineup just if he's going to be at the NHL level. Like I said,
and
it doesn't do him any
good.
Not
to cut you off again. Blake Lazat's coming back at some point too. Like, so I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah, that's true. There's and this goes back to what we talked about a ton going into the season. There's a lot of spots to fill in that bottom 6 with a lot of guys. So I think that it'll be interesting to see what they do with Rutger McGroarty. Like if I were them, knowing that Blake Lazat is coming back eventually too, if he's not going to be an everyday player, send him down. I don't see a reason to keep him up there if he's not going to be in the lineup. And with Ryan Shea, like you mentioned, I thought he had a decent game against Montreal. Jack St. Ivy, not a hot start to the season. So I think that makes sense. I have no problem with that. Another guy on the defense, I wouldn't say give flowers to, but I can't hate on as much as we did last season. Ryan Graves has not been as much of a black.
What a way to word it. Yeah.
That he was last season.
Is off to a fine start. Yeah.
Yeah, Ryan Graves has not done anything that was that outlandish, I don't think yet. Like I don't think he's been perfect, but
yeah,
I mean,
he was
last season. He might as well win the Norris right now.
Not even just last season, like this preseason. He looked like the same player as he did last year. So we saw very recently him still look like an absolute train wreck on the back end. But yeah, again, 4-game sample size, things could go south before you guys are even watching or listening to this in terms of that. But as we sit here right now through 4 games, yeah, he's been fine. And again, I don't know that that's been with the best part. Like it's been Jackson Ivey and Ryan Shea that he's played with.
I love how we've gotten to the point where if the player is just fine, we're okay with it. Like if Ryan Graves is just fine, we are perfectly fine with that.
Well, it's funny too. When I was on the Tip of the Iceberg podcast a couple of weeks ago, the conversation about Matt Grzelcyk, we were all like, at least it's only a 1-year deal. And I was like, see, that's how you know it's bad, is when immediately when that ink, the ink's not even dry yet, and you're saving graces is only 1 year. Like, if that's the best thing you can say about a deal, the player's probably not very good.
I'm trying to think, who did I say that? I think I said that about pretty much all of their free agent signings from this offseason.
Yeah, at least
they're all 1-year deals.
Yeah, so you know that they're all off the books. Mm-hmm. And you can reset the salary cap. Salary cap going to go up. Yeah, I don't think the Penguins are in a bad spot right now, to be honest with you.
No, and like you said, small sample size, but to their peers, 3rd in the Metro right now.
This is how I feel, genuinely. And this is what I said before the season, so I'm not changing anything based off 4 games. But as we sit here right now, I genuinely feel this way. I think this is a playoff team as long as they get competency in net.
I agree with that. I think based off what you've seen the skaters do, I agree with that.
And I'm not saying they're going to go on a run or anything like that. I think that I don't even think I think you have them finishing top 3, right, in the Metro before the season. You said they'd finish 3rd.
Yeah, 3rd.
And I have them as a wild card. So I think that they are a fringe playoff team, but I lean towards them being in as long as they get competency in net. And nothing through 4 games has made me change my way one way or another. That's legitimately how I felt before the season. I'm sticking to it. If anything, this start has encouraged me a little bit more, but I don't want to buy into the sample size.
Yeah, that's true. We could go into Western Canada, play Edmonton, play Vancouver. We could get cooked. And then we're talking in a week and we hate hockey.
There you go. Anyways, anything else?
With the Pens, I mean, like you mentioned, by next episode, I hope we're talking about 1,600 points for Sid and 500 goals for Malkin on their career. We already reached 800 assists for Malkin and 1,300 points in this early season. A couple more milestones to be had by next episode, hopefully. If not, then woof. I mean, especially if it's Sid, if we talk after 4 more games and Sid still isn't at 1,600 points, he's only 1 away right now. Woof. What's going on?
Trade him. I'm not blowing his cover because by the time people watch or listen to this, it will have already happened, so they can't do anything about it anyway. I'm going to be at this game with everybody's favorite tight end, so it's very important that these milestones take place. Dude, we want to see it in person.
You're going to a game with Michael Pruitt.
Connor Hayward, actually.
Is he a tight end or a fullback, though?
Is
he listed as fullback?
Has he even? I feel like he's lined up way more in line or flexed out than he has in the back.
100%. But technicalities, I believe he's listed as a fullback.
You might be right. That's interesting. All right. Anyways, we're getting way off subject now. Still haven't played the ad for Teek's Barbershop. How do I want to transition to that?
Tristan Jarry's playing net has not cut it.
Smitty from around the 412 here. And while I may not have much hair, the hair that I do have will not be cut by anybody besides Keek at Keek's Barbershop. My friend Christian Circle, been with us since day one. Keek's Barbershop, located 401 Burkitch Way, Suite 2 in Beaver, PA. Download the app, The Cut. Book an appointment with Christian today, or you can do walk-in with Tony or Ashley. But again, Keek's Barbershop, 401 Burkitch Way, Suite 2 in Beaver, PA. Go check them out. Old school vibe in there. Absolutely love it. Cannot recommend them enough. Wouldn't go anywhere else. Maybe I'll see you there. Very good. Very professional. I like it. Anyways, nothing else to add. So be sure to check out the links in the description as far as everything custom designs go, which is the logo that you currently see above Tyler. Still no Etsy, still working on the website. You can check out our Facebook page, though. You can message her on there if you want to order anything, including our hoodies, our t-shirts, our long sleeves, all that good stuff, glass tumblers, which I have one of. Super dope. Literally drink out of it every single day. Be sure to check out everything custom designs. Our friend Haley Wagner, small business. Support small business, as everybody should. As often as possible when you can do so. Also, DC4L Customs, link down below for our shorts. Probably not the best time of year. Although I don't know which state you guys live in. Maybe you're in Florida, Arizona, somewhere where you can just wear.
It could be like me.
Hawaii,
shorts year round.
That's true. Yeah, you just wear shorts. Even sometimes you get dared at a Pirate game to just wear shorts, and you do it regardless of what the temperature.
To be fair, that was at a Dollar Dog night, and Ryan dared me to make it till the 5th
Shout out
inning.
Platt.
Yeah, shout out Platt. Dared me to make it until the 5th inning with just shorts on, and it was 40 degrees outside.
I don't. Yeah, if
something like that.
Mm-hmm.
It was cold.
Max,
but I got those hot dogs. I got 5 hot dogs.
There we go. Anyways, yeah, that's a real game changer. Plays ad. No, I'm not gonna play it again. Go to GameChanger.la or Pick6.la. Save yourself $10 using code AT412. There's a few Pens designs on there. Would like to see more. Actually, you can join their Discord and make a request yourself, but they just recently added an NHL channel for you to make your requests as well. Before the season started, I requested a Michael Bunting one. Maybe that's why he hasn't done anything yet. Maybe I'm bad luck. So
That could be it.
Certainly Yang getting a game changer shirt with 1 assist, pal. So let's start racking up the points.
I mean, you're going to be at the game, so we'll see if it's you.
That's true. We'll see. TBD for now, but we'll see by the time you guys are watching and listen to this, that has already happened. We can't stress that enough. We always like to preface by saying that so you guys don't come at us when something is dated. But anyways, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell.
Has a hat trick.
Hit us in the comments. Yeah, Bunny has a hat trick on Wednesday. Probably going to happen. Hit us in the comments with your thoughts on anything that we talked about today, a question for future episode, all that good stuff. Most importantly, in the description, we got Year 7, Rocking Around the 412, our yearly Christmas mission. Every single penny donated goes directly to impacting kids by giving them the Christmas they otherwise would not have in the 724 and 412 area codes. We've been doing this for 6 years. This is Year 7. We've raised over $32,000 in the process of doing so. Actually, if I'm factoring in this year, it's now over 34,000. But anyway, so here we are, Year 7 of doing so. The past 3 years, partnering up with the East Rochester Salvation Army to do their angel tree in the name of our late friend Dalton Keene. Over the past 3 years in doing that, also having the help of Kaylee and Isla, we've been able to impact a ton of kids last year alone. I've been throwing these numbers out, so I guess I might as well on here just so I can keep talking about it. And of course, I've lost the note now because I closed it. That was smart of me when I knew I wanted to bring it up. $6,685, 3 individual families, 26 tags, 36 kids in total had Christmas provided thanks to you guys that donate to this mission every single year. If you do donate, you'll be eligible to win some sweet prizes, autographed memorabilia. Tyler buys Penguin tickets every year. We're going to have a bunch of different stuff. Those haven't been announced yet, but will be in the near future because we're halfway through October now, so things are really ramping up. So we appreciate your guys' support. Be sure to share the mission at the very least. If you cannot donate, you never know whose eyes and ears you're going to get on this thing. Again, the link to that is in the description. You can read the full mission. You can donate there. You can share there, or just hit one of us up. Because to be honest with you, as much as we love GoFundMe and have been going through them, they take a cut. So if you'd rather just donate to us through Venmo or something else, that's preferred and certainly possible.
They take a cut. Plays ad.
That might be what I do next.
That's for the future. That's for the future.
Yeah, there you go. But other than that, I think that's all I got. Follow us on everything at Around the 412. I don't know why it still says Threads down there, but it does. So I think I deleted the app from my phone. So you're not going to see anything on there.
So
if
did
you
I.
want to follow us, yeah, I'm just going to take it off. This is the last time. This is history. You guys are seeing it. This is the last time you'll see Threads on that ticker at the bottom. But follow us on everything else. If you're listening somewhere else, by the way, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast from, be sure to leave us a 5-star review and subscribe over there as well. Other than that, for Tyler, for Smitty, this has been the Around the 412 Penguins show. We'll see you guys next time.